Hello and welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're all well, I hope you're keeping safe, and kind of dealing with these uncertain and unusual times we find ourselves in. At least the weather's picked up, it is glorious. This conservatory is normally quite cold, certainly at this time of year, but right now the thermometer is showing like 35 degrees, so because none of the windows are open or anything, so really warm. Let's see how long I last. Been lots of things happening this week. It's been the MVP Summit, which happened virtually, happened on Teams. I think I'm probably right in saying it's the first time Microsoft have run a major conference on Teams. Overall, a real big success, I think. It's definitely different. It's definitely not the same as an in-person conference. There are disadvantages to that. There are things that you don't get from a virtual conference. I did miss the interaction with people. I missed the hallway track. I missed some of the socialising. I missed being able to just kind of pin someone down and just quickly get a question out of them. But at the same time, I enjoyed being able to be here with my family. I enjoyed being able to dip in and out of sessions. I enjoyed not walking halfway across campus to get to different sessions on different tracks that I was interested in. So it's a mixture. It'd be interesting. I would not be averse to another virtual session again. I think I'm still on balance an in-person person. But I think it was really good. And I think Microsoft probably learned a lot out of the experience as well. I think we all learned a lot out of running, a summit virtually on Teams. Really good. Lots of other things happening. So there've been a bunch of updates to the Microsoft Graph SDK. It's been a while since that has happened. So there's been a bunch of updates. There's been a bit of a gap between the updates coming, so this is a whole load of ones coming in a sort of a slew. They've kind of changed how it's packaged, and it's now going to come in as like a service library and a core library. There are some breaking changes, so be aware of that. So there are some updates. There's a .NET SDK core library version 2 preview. That's like early release. You can get hold of it, but it's preview. So there's a bunch of changes, bunch of things that are happening. So Microsoft very much still iterating on this space. So if you're using the Graph SDK, it is worth just going through this list because you'll either pick up updates that are useful to you, or you might pick up things that are changing or that you could do better as well. So definitely worth being aware of that one. There's another blog post specifically good for people who are writing applications that go and talk to Outlook and specifically access Outlook items, but using like an archived or shared mailbox or delegate mailboxing, and they're trying to do that with Graph. So that's a use case some people have, and Microsoft are giving out some guidance about the right way to go about that and how to do that, because there's a couple of different ways you could do it, and it's not entirely obvious exactly how you do it. So there's some good guidance, very specific guidance in the form of this blog post. It's not a very long blog post, but it is just telling you exactly how to do it. So if that sounds like you and you're unsure about how to access an archive mailbox or shared mailbox or delegated mailboxing using Microsoft Graph, this blog post is for you. Finally, let's switch gears. Let's not talk about Graph. Let's not talk about Teams. Let's just talk to development and what developers are interested in. If you do development, chances are fairly high you probably use Visual Studio, and the Visual Studio team have just published, or fairly recently published, beginning of this month I think, their spring roadmap. So this is really good to see because it gives you insight into what's coming, what the team are working on, and what they think is important. So these types of roadmaps are always worthwhile. They are just a forecast, they're not set in stone, but they're very good for figuring out kind of what the team is thinking. And really it's about addressing customer feedback, it's about delivering on a number of different places, and not just the new shiny stuff either. There's a whole bunch of C++ improvements, there's a whole bunch of diagnostics improvements, there's stuff for web tools, so there's specifically around Blazor as well. There's some real initiatives to make sure Blazor gets a really good debugging experience. The same with Xamarin and XAML. as well. So some targeted changes to improve the lives of various different developers. So that's really good to see. All right, I'm afraid we can't really have a weekly update without any mention of something to do with COVID-19, and that's what these last two blog posts are. So the first one, but this is quite specific and interesting around the bot framework and around the development space. This is a blog post from a Microsoft blog post about how they are delivering information and trying to remove process bottlenecks around how you remotely assess people for COVID-19, and they're doing that with a healthcare bot. So this is actually built using the healthcare bot service, which is a thing I wrote about and blogged about, a year ago maybe. I'll find the video and link to it at the end of this so you've got it. So it's kind of like the healthcare bot is like an all-in-one solution that health professionals can take and just configure and go out, and it's ready-made, it's ready to go, it's sort of designed for healthcare and those kind of risk assessment scenarios. So it's a really good idea actually. What they've redone is retooled it so to be very specific for COVID-19 assessments. The CDC are using this, so pretty cool. Good to see. So yeah, I'll link to those other walkthrough because I've got like a demo of it working, how you put it all together, and all the rest of it that might be interesting. So if you haven't seen that, you might be more interested in it now that you know that the CDC are using it, not just the CDC using it. Sorry, organisations are using it. So it is based on. Let me get my terminology right. It is based on the CDC's guidance. I don't think the CDC are using it. It's based on the CDC guidance, and it's available to organisations to roll out. Kind of public health organisations, hospitals, others on the front line, dealing with a lot of assessments at scale. This is a good way of addressing those needs. And finally, because it is getting so hot in here, I'm going to have to stop before I burn up. This is a blog post that Modality Systems, my employer, put out, and I'm only highlighting it really. I try not to kind of do too much of like highlighting our own work because it comes across kind of a bit weird on videos like this, but this one was interesting because this started off as an internal email to all staff about kind of tips and tricks. Now that, you know, as a business, we've made a decision to work 100% from home. We were already pretty close to that, to be honest, by the time the decision was made, because we have fairly free reign, most of us, you know, where we work. But this was a kind of decision that we're now 100% working from home business. And it was some notes and tips and tricks from our leadership team around how we should do that, how we should succeed. And I thought it was really, really good. And I'm really pleased that it's become a public blog post because I wanted to share it publicly, but it was an internal email, so I kind of couldn't. But I'm pleased now that I can because it's been made public. So I thought these were really good, and they're not all technical either. There's lots about kind of keeping in touch with people, the social side of things, how you think, how you can continue to deliver things like your key metrics and your KPIs as a team, how you can still work together as a team, how you're still part of a bigger company. All these things are quite important when you're 100% working from home, and it takes a while to adjust into that. In a lot of people's head, if you've never done working from home, the company you work for is associated with the building you go and work at. And when you stop working in that building, you lose that connection temporarily, and you have to kind of work to get it back and to recalibrate your brain that even when you're at home, like, you're still part of the company, you're still working, you're still delivering the value, and you're still delivering the good things that the company stands for, and you know, you're part of a big team. So yeah, I thought it was good, so I'm sharing it because I thought it was good. All right, that's everything from me. Stay safe, whatever it is you're doing. I hope you have lots to do. If you have children to look after, good luck. So do I. I'm sure we'll be fine. I saw a funny thing on, I think, Facebook the other day that if all the parents are looking after children's 24/7, it'll be the parents that come up with the vaccine before the scientists. I'll leave you with that thought. Have a great weekend. Speak to you next week.